Yeah, and I guess I'll ask you about one more record just while I have you here. So the John Mayer, his initial record, the Room for Squares. What's the word for the first record? Freshman release, I guess. Is that what they say?
Yep.
Yeah. Walk me through. You said you mentioned you had a story about that, and I love that. It's a great sounding record. Also similar to the Steely Dan records, very clear. You kind of hear everything. Everything is super pronounced. Tell me a little bit about that record.
Well, it first came to me through a Columbia Records representative that wanted to master it. I'd worked with Lee Dene on a couple other projects, and she said, "I've got this record, but it's going to be a little different because first it's coming in and it's going to be billed. The work's going to be billed to Aware Records." And basically, she shared with me that John that Columbia had an option to pick up the record if the Aware version of it did as well as they expected it to. And clearly, she thought it was going to be a successful record because she attended the mix sessions and she attended the mastering sessions, and she was Columbia's representative there. But they were working in conjunction with Aware. This is a small Chicago independent music independent record. As it turns, I put it away. I was just listening to it the other day. So there actually is a available, but probably in limited supply, this original version of this record with a plain black cover. And it's in my Desert Island Discs record collection. So what I'm getting at, I jumped the story just a little bit. So this record was originally done for Aware Records, same song, same sequence. The mixes that John Alessia and John Mayer originally approved were the mixes that went on this record. And you'll notice some very dramatic differences if you get a chance to listen to that record. But by far the biggest difference was it was sort of a band-focused record and not a vocal-focused record. And in hindsight, looking back, this would not nearly have been as commercially successful on radio without the remixes that they did. Pardon me 1 second. So fast forward, so that record was done. Everybody approved it. And fast forward about 3 or 4 months or maybe 5 months, and Lee called me back. It's like, well, it happened. They sold a whole bunch of records and Columbia's picked it up, and we're going to have half the songs remixed by Jack Joseph Puig. And then it all needs to be remastered. And it turns out at the moment, I can't remember which ones were remixed, but you can kind of find that out. I think if you look through the credits.
We'll do a little Googling.
Deep dive. But I had to remaster the previous tracks to then match the sound of the new mixes. So
sure.
I hold that up as one of my kind of contemporary, crazy contemporary experiences of being asked to really kind of repurpose half of this record for into a whole new record. And it took a little doing because he had brought the vocals so much far forward. He'd taken quite a bit of mid-range out of the bass. But let me say really clearly that I loved this original version, and I still listen to this. And
it sounds more like you would listen to John Mayer live, or maybe Continuum or something.
It's yeah. It really, this is the record that the producer and the artist originally wanted to make. The Room for Squares with the little periodic table of artwork on the front of it. It's a great record, and it's a very good, beautiful commercial record. I've heard those songs in Home Depot, in the deli, and in the grocery store, and in the post office. I've heard them everywhere, and they translate really, really well. I love the sound of the original record, but obviously the decision to make it a more commercially viable record was sort of undeniable, but. So that's a really, really, for me, a really, really unique opportunity to see the same tracks, same original tracks, almost exclusively the same tracks, made into two different records, and even though they have the same songs, the same lyrics, the same solos and everything, if you have the opportunity to hear them side by side, you'll go like, wow, it's really a different experience.
Yeah, well, I had no idea, and I'm gonna have to do a deep dive and listen to both versions now.
Gonna have to, Jay, go. You can DM me for a ripped version of a couple songs if you can't find it, because I think this might not be available. But I'm sorry, I can't make that publicly available to the world, because I don't own it.
Yeah, no.
But if I were Aware Records, I would keep this in production. But I don't know. Maybe it might not have been allowed. May or may not have been allowed.
Yeah,
to.
they probably
I don't
they probably bought all the rights or whatever.
You would think that's what a label would do, right?
Right. Exactly. Wow, this is so good.
But John was a real sweetheart. We worked together on that. He was almost shy. I was told that at the time on his first record, he didn't even really want to sing. He didn't think his singing was up to it. You know, he wanted to play his guitar because he was a guitarist, and so they convinced him to sing. And the rest is history. I think he's proven that he's pretty damn good at leading a band. And
he's an amazing vocalist. I heard the same thing happened with Bill Withers on his original record, because he's like, I'm a songwriter, like someone. So who's singing this? Who's singing? Lean on Me. Like.
So sometimes only person with that experience can really put that into it.
Yeah.